Wow. Ready? All right, first up today, even with Garrett over there diving into the shallow end.
Don't invite him
I
back.
saw him do it. Yeah, that was the shallow end dive, dude. The first guy up.
We're doing a shallow dive, not a deep dive.
Oh, my head.
The first guy up this week is Jordan Addison, wide receiver, Southern Cal, 5'11", 173 pounds. He ran the 40 in 4.49 seconds. He had a 1.56 10-yard split, 122-inch broad jump, and a 34-inch vertical. Last year in 11 games, he had 59 receptions, 875 yards receiving, and 8 touchdowns, 4 attempts rushing, and 33 additional yards.
Normally, I go first, but I have a whole conspiracy theory for the last player. So, Rich, we'll have you go first. We'll go every other that way. That way I can put my tinfoil hat on at the end of the show.
All right, I'm excited. All right. I'm excited to hear this conspirry theory, too, because I have not heard it yet. So.
I can't wait to hear it also. He has kept this under wraps.
It's elaborate.
Yeah.
So Jordan Addison out of USC, former obviously Pittsburgh wide receiver, where he won the 2021 Blitnikoff award winner, where he actually had 100 receptions, 1,593 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 rushes, 56 yards, and a touchdown. So he had a monster year there. A little less productive at USC, but he did have the high ankle sprain. But he still led the team in all categories, receptions, receiving, and touchdowns. So he was still very productive there. So back-to-back years of consistency there. And Jordan Addison actually grayed out to be my number 2 receiver in this class. So he's my number 2 overall rookie wide receiver. He is only 21. At his pro day, he ran a 7.05 3-cone. So
nice. Okay, I didn't see
not too bad there as well. Jordan Addison is a smooth runner. He gets in and out of his breaks really well. Really solid route runner with really good feet. The 40 times nice, 4.49. So it shows that he's fast, but he seems more quick than fast.
I think I agree with that. But I think he moves fast and plays faster than that time speed, the 4.49, in my opinion. At least maybe it's the quicks that are going to get me.
Do you have his 10-yard split? Because I think that was the difference. His 40 time was not that impressive, but his 10-yard split was one of the best in the class.
1.56.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that's
what
what
it said?
Here. Yeah, that's what I had.
I could have swore he had a fantastic...
Maybe at the pro day it was different. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah. But yeah, because I think his burst and quickness is awesome.
Yeah, I thought his burst and quickness was really good. And this is somebody who can play all 3 levels of the field, and he had a dominant.
Oh, I was thinking of Zay Flowers, not Jordan Addison.
Gotcha.
I mixed the two up in my head. That's what it was.
Yep.
He dominated 2021, and he looked really good last year. He just turned 27 as well. So he's a lot of room.
27. Brandon Whedon.
Whoa.
He turned 21 on the 27th of January is what I'm about to say there. So he's got a lot of room to grow his game as well.
Sure.
Which it's another attractiveness to me in this receiving class because, listen, this receiving class is not great. And I'm going to talk about it next week more in depth because I did not come away overly impressed with the receiving class at all. I think there's a lot of wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 ceilings in here. But Jordan Addison, somebody who actually I don't mind at all in this class. His size is going to be his number 1 negativity. Came in at 173 pounds. I think it was actually, and then his pro day, I think he weighed in at like 170.
Yeah,
I think he weighed a little bit lighter there. So he, in size, it shows. Like he's not very good in contested catches. Not a ton of production with the ball in his hands, so he lacks that power there. I thought he could get off the line a little bit better than he did. His drops at times were an issue early in his career. But he did get better every year. He cleaned it up. So, early in his career, he dropped 14% of his passes, 10% his sophomore year, but only 3.3% his junior year. So, if you see there's a stat out there that says he dropped 1 out of every 13.5 catches. But he cleaned it up every single year. So, I do like that.
I have for two drops this past season.
This year.
Yep.
His time at Pitt, he had dropped a lot more than he did at USC.
Mm-hmm. So, Jordan Addison to me seems like somebody could be a really good PPR wide receiver. So that's what he kind of screams to me. Like, this is a guy come in, be a very solid PPR guy, a very good number 2 on an NFL team with the room to grow. Like, there's a path if Jordan Addison can put on some weight here for him to be a team's number 1 receiver. It's just he's got a little bit of growing here to do as well. But I think out the gates, he's somebody come in and today's NFL can kind of help your team pretty quickly with his route running, his speed,
and that's the thing.
Hands.
I think he's one of the, if not the most precise and crisp route runner in this class. So just from that standpoint, I think he's going to be able to come into the NFL and kind of acclimate himself pretty quickly and contribute, relatively soon compared to some of these other guys in this class that I feel like need a lot of work. So he's a much more finished product, and only being 21, that's impressive. So that's a good sign for him. The size is an issue. We've seen other guys come to the NFL and be successful with the same kind of skill set. He separates. He's not great with, in the contested catch type of stuff because he's not big. He's not overly strong or anything like that, but he gets separation in his routes, and he's a crisp route runner. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue for him to get the ball in his hands. So from that standpoint, I like him. He is my number 2 guy as well, just because I think he's polished. I think he's ready to contribute right away. I don't know that there's a huge upside. I don't think he'll ever be a wide receiver 1.
Probably not.
That's not how I view him, but I think he's going to be a real solid wide receiver 2.
He could be the Devontae Smith to A.J. Brown.
I think definitely he could play that role in an offense, and any offense in the NFL.
Yeah, I have him one spot below you guys, so I have him at wide receiver 3. A guy I think we'll talk about next episode ended up leaping him for the second spot. But there is the reason that I like Jordan Addison is I think you guys, especially you, which I think maybe are a hair higher on his ceiling than I am, but I think he has a very safe floor overall. When you can run as crisp of routes that he can run, when you can get the type of separation that he can, by all reports, like he seems like a good kid, things like that. So I don't have any really big glaring concerns. Obviously the catch radius isn't impressive and the physicality isn't that impressive, but that's kind of built into when you hear his size, you're like, oh, he's probably not going to do some of those things very well.
And to that point, he ran a lot of screen passes and had a little bit of success at the college level, which I'm not sure that kind of stuff is going to translate to the NFL. So he's going to have to work something else out in those kind of scenarios, because I just don't think he'll hold up at his size doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think, so it was interesting for quickness. I gave him an 8.5. I think he's a very quick player. And like I said, I got him and Zay Flowers confused because, spoiler alert, he's the second guy on my list. And so automatically I went to him. But I think his quickness is very good. I think his burst is solid. I think his speed is above average, but it's not as fast as I want him to be for a guy of that size. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more game speed when I watched him play, and I think it was good, but I don't think it was that much above average, which, some of the other small guys on this list, they're burners. They can sure make some big plays happen. And so I think if there was something that I was like a little bit disappointed in, I think that was the one thing. But all of that being said, I think he's a very safe player. He's a guy that I would be comfortable drafting in the first round because I don't like to miss on guys. And I don't think you're going to miss with Jordan Addison. He might not ever end up being that, go-to number 1 guy, but I do think he'll be a solid fantasy contributor for a long time.
Where is he when you do like an eval? Do you see him as a Terry McLaurin type who's never going to make that, or is he like a little bit below him?
Terry's better in contested catches,
right? I think he's a little bit below like a Terry, but like in that range. But like he's probably always going to
fantasy wise. Yeah, I think that's a good place to put him. I think there's some differences in their play style, but yes, like fantasy wise, we've kind of always wanted Terry McLaurin to be a little bit more than he has been, and he's always been this like productive low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3, which is valuable,
right?
But not anything crazy. So I think that's a fair comparison for what I think his ceiling
fantasy production, not game style.
Exactly.
I'm just saying
exactly
from a fantasy standpoint.
No, I think that's a good fantasy production comp.
It'd be interesting to see where he goes. And I've never seen a draft class where I've been so anxious to see where these guys land, because there's such a tier of players here that are just like, okay, like they're not bad, but where do they go? Like, where's their opportunity?
As Garrett would say, I've been very whelmed.
Very whelmed. Yes.
This class is special. And I got a lot of draft tips and stuff to talk about next week about it. But, Jordan Addison's one of these class. I think I came away, there's about 8 to 10 receivers I feel comfortable with. And that's it, like 8 to 10 that I feel comfortable with drafting overall. Get on my team. And I said at number 2, I definitely feel like he's an asset. And that's another thing. Like, I don't even think there's like 8 to 10 assets to the Dynasty team. I feel like he could be an asset. There's 8 to 10 guys I feel like I like some of their upside. he's something I can feel good in my lineup pretty quickly.
That's what I feel the same way. He's a guy that is going to contribute early. He's a guy that you can expect to have in like a wide receiver 3 role, probably in his rookie season, and maybe not all the time, but for a chunk of the season anyway, and feel pretty good about that.
You'll see a lot of running backs go early, just about where do they get drafted and where's the opportunity. So, interested. Jordan Addison, very solid player. Definitely should be on your boards. It should definitely probably in a 1 QB make your top 6 overall picks in that
range
right there.
Yeah.
That if you need a receiver and you don't love the risk of like an A-Chain, a Charbonnet, or a Tajay Spears, or an Izzy, if that's your guy, I think Addison's a good.
Are we talking about Abanikanda?
Yeah,
Not me.
dude. People
love
him, and his
it's a
size
it's a size speed thing.
Dude,
Yep.
size speed is great and all, but like you still have to have vision. You still have to be able to like.
I'm taking
Play running back.
Jordan Addison 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, I'm taking
before
Jordan over
Abanikanda.
every time. Oh yeah, me too.
But that being said, I'm probably taking a lot of those running backs that you mentioned before above Addison.
I'm taking a lot of running backs period in this class, but that's the thing. This class is really deep at running back, but there's only so many opportunities, and that's something.
true.
Again, we're gonna head over ourselves. I have a lot of this stuff to talk about next week. I got a lot of things to say. Definitely about like rookies as a whole and overall draft, the way you draft and play Dynasty fantasy ball. People laugh at me all the time, like Rich, you trade your draft picks away all the time. I keep cashing those checks.